or Trump regroup and win in New Hampshire. Both.
You've seen that.
Well, both Reagan and Trump lost in Iowa the first time around. And then rising victories in New Hampshire. If you win Iowa, in a way, if you win Iowa, you're going to have to show some momentum in New Hampshire.
Yep.
In other words, you're going to have, I think his path to victory is the following. He wins Iowa. It wouldn't be bad if it was a little closer in Iowa. Then he gets a bump in New Hampshire, and then he blows it out in South Carolina. Because I think that by that time, Scott will be out, and Scott will endorse it.
So who do you think stays in it longer? Haley or Scott?
Haley. I think Haley and DeSantis, by virtue of tying for a second, are in for the moderate long haul.
Yeah.
I think the ones that will go out. The question is, does Ramaswamy stay in for Iowa and New Hampshire, or does he drop out and endorse Trump? Then he will stay in because it's an ego vendetta, nasty. Maybe ABC is funding that. Yeah. So I'd say the ones who stay in are Christie stays in, and Ramaswamy. I say that Scott goes out either before Iowa or New Hampshire.
Okay.
One or the other.
Okay.
I'd say I think the first one, I think Christie remains, DeSantis remains, Haley remains, and then of course Trump, right?
Yeah.
And the question is, what happens to the Vivek vote? What happens to the Scott vote if they go out? I think there's a good chance both of them endorse Trump. I do. Now, that doesn't mean he'll get their vote. Their vote could be for all kinds of reasons. But I do think he's not going to get hurt. He's going to at least get an even share of their vote. So let's say they're at, what are they at, 4 and 4? 4 and 7, right? So that's 11. So I think the most that the two number twos can gain out of that, at the most, they'll gain 5%.
Yeah.
And Trump will get 6%.
Yeah.
They'll gain 5% divided by 2, and he'll get 6%, which means he'll go from 43 almost to a majority, 49. So the two people left are Trump partisans. So there's if the two people left, or if Christie had a more representative vote, it could be dangerous. But it doesn't look very good for either one of them. And my guess right now is DeSantis becomes second. I think she made an unbelievable mistake with the Palestinians. An unbelievable mistake.
Is that the type of mistake that can end your campaign?
If the DeSantis campaign were better, if DeSantis had Roger Ailes or one of the great Democrats or a real campaign manager, that's Romney's father saying, "I was brainwashed by the generals." She's the Vietnam. She was the UN ambassador, and she says that half of the Palestinians are very good people. That's a ridiculous comment. They voted for Hamas. They don't protest against Hamas. They're taught to kill Americans. We're going to trust them to. And I don't know, has she ever talked to King Abdullah and Al-Sisi? And they don't take them. She wants America to take them and the Arab countries won't take them. I think that was a deadly, I think that not only ruined her campaign for president, I think it ruined her for 28. But I think she's finished. Extraordinarily dumb thing to say for a UN ambassador. Who the hell she exactly was appealing to for votes in the Republican Party is a mind-boggling. So we have not had a trick-or-treat here. In New Jersey, they canceled it in the schools because you get too fat. I can't imagine that just Halloween alone makes you fat. You would have to eat the other days of the year too, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know why people cancel stuff like that. I mean, it's ridiculous. You know, Murphy was against it. The only thing I have agreed with Murphy on ever. But I guess, you know, in some of these states, these school systems are. And one other thing before we go back to Mar-a-Lago, the Classic Bookshop has put out a bestseller list in the Palm Beach Daily News. I want you to look at this because it's extremely deceptive. In the corner is one of the bigger liars. Do you recognize her, Ted?
In fact, I do, Mayor.
This is the one who
definitely
believes that Trump is an acrobat, and that I can bend down, reach all the way up her dress while she had a coat on in a 0-degree day, and touch her all the way up her legs with my entire staff there.
But now notice bring it down a little bit, Mayor, so folks can see the picture, the book cover. There it is. And notice how they put the Palm Beach Post puts up Cassidy Hutchinson's book in the best-selling section. However, if you read the list of best sellers, you will notice that Miss Hutchinson's book appears nowhere on the list.
So who did this? The left-wing Palm Beach Daily or the left-wing bookstore? This is a bookstore that would not feature my book when it was first.
Let's show it on it. We got it right there.
Yeah, that bookshop there would not feature my book when it was #1 on the Times bestseller list. So my ex-wife, for which I am grateful, Judith, go there and asked for the book in large numbers. And then eventually they got the book and they hid it somewhere in the back and they sold more of that book than any other book for a period of about 4 weeks. I mean, I did sell way over 1 million. I might have gotten to 2 million copies. And I was on the bestseller list. Very high. Not only were we #1 for a while, but we were selling for about 2 years because it's an educational book. It's used for leadership programs. And I probably have given 300 lectures with the book as a basis. It's also translated 9 languages, including Israeli, where the biggest seller outside the United States was Canada, UK, and then Israel was #4. Believe it or not. I think that's right. I think it was Israel. Big seller in Australia. But they never did this for me. They kept my book out. Now they got the woman who is falsely accusing me of groping her. They make it appear in a false light that it's on the bestseller list. 10 books had sold, but he didn't get much of an answer.
Well, it must be below the I mean, some of the books they had listed, I found a list of all the Trump world books, right? And you had a few good ones, and then a lot of people.
Well, it's well below Elon Musk, I would say.
I'd be surprised if it sold 10,000. Maybe a little bit more than that, only because every all the legacy news outlets gave her a nice big push when she came out with the book. And of course, the lies she said about you, it was so obvious. And I can tell you from, I won't say which outlets, I had conversations with major networks. And I do believe we were successful in at least quashing some of the interviews she was going to do, Mayor. And I know maybe not, but when I made it clear that they'd have to give us at least put in our state, put something in, and I'd put out these most out just like over the top responses that they would have to play.
Yeah, I mean, it's a ridiculous thing. In a tent,
I don't even want to repeat it,
with a 0-degree temperature, where I had Dr. Maria there, I think my son, numerous members of my staff, because I brought them all to the Trump speech and they got cold. Then I proceeded to put my hand down the top of her coat and blouse. And then I bent all the way over, I guess, or got down on my knees and put my hand up her dress, her coat and dress, to somewhere near her private parts. That's absurd. And it is totally untrue. And I am hurt by it because I've never had such an accusation. Trump jumped over the Secret Service vehicle, hit the Secret Service agent and took the wheel. Trump the acrobat. Trump the madman who started no wars. And meanwhile, we got a madman now, don't we? So here's Mar-a-Lago. According to Judge Enger, whatever his name is, Engeron, a New York Democratic judge, elected on the Democratic ticket, selected by the Democrat county leader because he's a Democrat. And nowhere if he rules for Trump. And also looks like he's a Trump deranged. This is the guy who made the strange smiles and that sort of thing. He says the value of this thing is 18 million. Now, you don't get a very good look at it here. This is just an abbreviated shot of, it has numerous structures, but the thing about it that is really quite amazing is it goes from sea to intracoastal. So we have a group of houses, and we've only gotten through 2 or 3 of them right now, that are more than Mar-a-Lago, that are at best, I'll have to get an official, we could say 1/15 the size, we could say 1/20 the size, but then none of them have both water. None of them are on both bodies of water. None of them have a ballroom. None of them have, about 12 extra cottages. None of them have a beach club. They couldn't possibly be valued at more. So let's go to which one shall we finish? The 7 Vista.
Let's play yours.
7 Vista.
Yeah, 7 La Costa.
La Costa. Well, you should know that La Costa, the north end of the island, which has traditionally been the less expensive end of the island here. The less expensive end of the island, for whatever that's worth. And you will find that this house is in the middle, grouped in a group of other houses. Whereas, as you can see, there's no house around Mar-a-Lago. None. And you'll also find out that this house does not have access to either body of water. So let's show it. And I think maybe it's self-explanatory. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce you to a property worth twice what the judge in New York valued Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago at. Twice the value of Mar-a-Lago. 7 La Costa, right here, if you can see it. This is it. This is it. This is the whole shebang. This would be, having lived at Mar-a-Lago for a bit, I would say this would be about 1/10 the size of Mar-a-Lago. This would be like where you go get, you go exit the exercise room at Mar-a-Lago. It's not even this. It's half the size of the ballroom. Let's point out something else about 7. Even though it's twice the value of Mar-a-Lago, no access to the ocean, no access to the intercoastal, not a bit. No beach front where you can have lunch and you can put 20 people. No, it doesn't exist. You gotta walk to the beach that way, that way. No ballroom. If I say 1/15 the size, Ted, would you disagree with me?
If that's you being generous to 7.
I want you to look over there. That's where the property ends. We're going to take pictures of Mar-a-Lago tomorrow night. That wouldn't even get you halfway to the front gate. So do we have that picture up right now? Because first of all, I think I was wrong as I look at it. It's about 1/20th. Now that I've seen the dimensions, it's about 1/20th the size. It's selling for almost 40 million. 39, you know how they do that, 39,999. So let's say 35. Well, that's the value. The values are determined in real estate not by the tax value for appraisal and for taxes. They're determined by the market. They're determined by what we call, every real estate person would know this, comparables. So this is a comparable, except not comparable because it is one size. It does not have access to water on either side, and the water actually is quite inconvenient. You have to go through streets that are fairly well trafficked in order to get there, as well as other people's homes. It has no extra building. I don't know. We'll find out. 12. It has no ballroom. It has that entire driveway that I showed you probably gets you from the gate, the security gate, to about 3/4 of the way to the entrance. Doesn't even get you to the entrance, and that's the entire building. Mar-a-Lago doesn't even begin before when this building ends, and that doesn't count the beach club on the other side. Mar-a-Lago is a profit-making operation that holds numerous activities and balls. I think it's the second or the most popular ballroom in Palm Beach to breakers. There's no comparison. So if they're asking 40 for this, 20 times more would be 800 for Mar-a-Lago. Plus, you've got to throw in celebrity value. The celebrity value usually increases the value of someone wanting that property. It is an absolutely legitimate part of valuation. I've objected to it. I've been almost victimized by it, actually. So to say it's a $1 billion property based on that comparable would not be off the mark. But here's what's really off the mark. To say it's worth 18 million. The judge proves my point, doesn't he? That New York is corrupt. Only a corrupt judge being led by a corrupt Democrat district attorney would do something like that. And that lazy, they never came down and looked at the properties we're going to be looking at. The New York Post didn't do it when today it said that the tax accountant said it might be worth only 27 million. Yeah, for tax assessment. The tax accountant's not a real estate agent. The tax accountant should have gotten off his fat ass and he should have gone and looked at these places. You know how many more we got? You're going to be surprised. Dear judge, you're going to be surprised. You're not going to be laughing when we finish with you, pal, because they should really take you off the bench. They really should. You really are a disgrace. And you're actually helping Trump because you make such a mockery out of the case. And of course, headhunter Letitia James, she's not even trying the case because she's not much of a lawyer. But I mean, she wants us to believe that Mar-a-Lago is worth 18 million. And we're gonna knock that one out of the ballpark all week. We got another one coming up for you tomorrow about the dishonesty, Trump people, going to knock your socks off. We got so much on them. You see, it's hard to say, but they are criminals. You don't frame a man for Russian collusion unless you're a criminal. You don't frame a man ridiculously, an absolutely needed conversation with the Ukrainian president unless you're crooked. And you don't hold back the hard drive unless you are not only crooked, but unpatriotic.
Well, Mayor, do you want to take some calls?
Sure do.
So let's take our first call. We're going to go to our friend, Julie. Julie, are you on the line? Julie, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can.
We hear you fine, Julie.
Great. Hello, Rudy.
How are you, my dear?
Oh, happy to talk to you as always. You're wonderful, and you're spot on everything.
Well, thank you. We really appreciate the support. We really do. Happy Thanksgiving.
Well, I was gonna say happy Halloween.
Oh, Halloween. Yeah, what am I talking about? I'm moving ahead one, right?
That's all right. That's all right. I knew what you meant. But no, I'm just so, I just can't wait for just.
I can't either. I mean, it really is.
I'm so tired of these people getting away with treason and everything else.
It is.
So tired of it.
They're ruining our country, Julie. They're ruining our country, and we have got to save it. We got to bring it back. We have to prevent it from becoming fascist. We've got to take it back from being fascist.
Yes, we do.
Well, you take care of yourself, Julie. God bless you, and keep calling, and hopefully every day more and more of this comes out, and more people realize that we've got no choice but to elect Trump so that he can reestablish the American Republic. How about reestablish our relationship with Israel, which is being sold out every day by this guy who is a lover of Iran. Iran is pounding our troops. What was it? What did I say? 28 attacks and 2 responses, empty responses. How do you do that? The Israelis had to bail us out. The Israelis made 2 attacks on Syria. They killed 4 or 5 Syrians.
Crazy.
What else do we have, Ted?
Well, another call. Let's hear from our good friend. Allison is calling in from New Jersey. Allison.
Hi, good evening, everybody.
Hi, Allison.
How are you? I wanted to ask your opinion on something. It's a little bit of a stroll down memory lane.
Go ahead.
When you were the mayor,
Yeah.
March 1st, 1994, the Jewish students in the Brooklyn Bridge shooting terror attack, which took the FBI 11 years to designate from crime to terror, by the way. But that's another story. Because we're seeing no leadership style that in any of the cities where these uprisings are taking place and these riots, and you've referred since this incursion began, this war with Hamas, you kept referring to the Crown Heights riot. Well, what did you do differently as mayor during the Brooklyn Bridge shooting terror attack that kept that groundswell from becoming a riot? And, and what has happened differently over the past 30 years that this is our country now? These are our college campuses.
Well, I'll tell you what I did, and I'm looking back so that I can get a good. This was very early in the time that I was mayor, and it was an attack on a group of the synagogue students who were headed back from a training in Manhattan to Brooklyn. And it was late in the afternoon, and it followed some attacks I think it was in Syria, trouble in there. So it was clearly linked to the Middle East, and an Arab terrorist shot at the bus that was going over the Brooklyn Bridge, and they killed a 16-year-old Jewish yeshiva student, Ari Halberstam, and they wounded a number of other students. The guy who did it is Rashid Baz, B-A-D. And I caught him in one day. I caught him, not the FBI, but I was just out of being U.S. attorney. And I told Bill Bratton we had to get him in one day. And we put out a likeness of him immediately, and we shared all of our info. We were transparent. I went to the people of New York City and I said, help me find him. This is what he looks like. This is what he did. The faster we find him, the faster and the sooner this stops in my city, because I'm not tolerating this. And we got him in a day, and he's still in prison. And we never had another attack like that. And we didn't have a riot after that. We come out of a pogrom under David Dinkins in Crown Heights, where Al Sharpton had really taken control from Dinkins. And we had 3 days of people running around, let's beat the Jews, let's beat the Jews, let's beat the Jews. Yankel Rosenberg there. I just didn't tolerate it. Wouldn't have tolerated parades like that either. You don't go over the Brooklyn Bridge. What are you talking about going? You got to go on the side. You don't go over the Brooklyn Bridge. You don't take roads. Roads are for ambulances. When misguided or evil people like that who don't do that, people die. We rely heavily on response time to get people with heart attacks to hospitals. When you're blocking up the roads on which the ambulances and the fire trucks go, you get people killed. If you want to demonstrate, there's plenty of sidewalk to demonstrate on. And I enforced that. And I required you to have if you wanted to go over the Brooklyn Bridge, you had to get a permit. Didn't I arrest? And then when you got a permit, we went to court and we negotiated it. So, for example, a group of taxi drivers wanted to go over. They wanted a day of, I don't know if they called it a day of, they wanted a day where they could close down New York. They're going to block every bridge, block every tunnel. And I lost in court, because the Times would say I lost, because they got to get their demonstration. Allison, their demonstration was between 2:00 in the morning and 6:00 in the morning. It took place on one bridge, the Queensboro Bridge. And it could to take any enforcement action it wanted to at exactly 6:00. When 6:00 came and they asked for an extra hour, I said, go to hell. And we got rid of all of them. And the ones that remained got arrested and went to Rikers Island. That was the last one we had from them. I also announced that anytime if they wanted to go on strike, it would be perfect, because I had all these people, particularly Haitian Americans, who like to do black cars, and I would just take their medallions away. When the Legal Aid Society struck on me, I canceled the contract with them. I didn't take strikes. I didn't take taking my streets. I was a mayor, not a wussy. I was a mayor, not a left-wing idiot. America is governed by Democrat, left-wing, progressive, communist, Marxist influenced idiots. And that's why there was a report today from a very well-respected New York City think tank saying the city and state are disappearing. The governor agreed. I mean, the migrants invited here by a mayor. Please remember, Mayor Adams invited them. He said we are a super Uber, not to be confused with the car company, an Uber sanctuary city. But we got 100,000 of them. I don't know. He probably wants to take them from Palestine. He sure as hell isn't going to be putting them upstate New York, I'll tell you that. You know, he tried that one, sending him to upstate New York. Within a day, 2 women were raped by his migrants. Please understand, these are not ordinary migrants. These are people directed in by the cartels. There is no other check on them. This is a very, very large number of terrorists coming in. And they're mostly single men of military age. We got one more?
Let's take one more call. Richard's been waiting so patiently on the line. So, Richard in Ohio, you're on with the mayor.
Mr. Giuliani,
Richard,
Mayor.
you're on with the mayor.
Mr. Mayor.
How are you, Richard?
Hey, how are you doing? I'm from Ohio. I used to be a Democrat several years ago, and I seen where they was headed to, and they have headed right where I thought they was headed. Now, for the last 4 years, I have tried my best to get a hold of President Trump, different ones that I knew I could trust. I want to get involved because the people that cares about this country is being torn apart. And if the rest of us citizens don't stand up,
You're
we're gonna
right.
lose our country. And let me ask you, Mr. Mayor, you was the best mayor. I watched you do that with all the criminals that you put away, and they're trying to put you and Mr. President Trump away. They're trying to put everybody away that cares about this. How in the world can I get a hold of someone that would call me and talk to me and have a good discussion on what I can do from Ohio, or go where I can help this?
Well, Ted's going to take your number, and we're going to talk to you, all right?
All right, because like I said, I have
Stay on. You stay on and off the air so we don't dox you, right? Ted will take your number, and we've got a lot of possibilities, and there are many things that could be done that are depending on you and your skills. I mean, everybody should think of voter integrity, doing poll watching of some kind in any capacity, because we're going to need that. But there are many other things that we need too. So I think this would be better, so we don't expose your identity. Teddy's on the phone now. You make that a private call, Ted? While you do that,
my wife and my 12-year-old. What can you do to help bring back some of the respect of just people that cares about this country? What are we gonna do?
Well, first of all, you begin acting that way yourself and encouraging your friends to do that. See if you can insist, and I'm really thinking about this now, seeing if you can insist that your public school bring back the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag every day. What's wrong with that? Pledging allegiance to the flag every day at the beginning of school.
Mayor, it's disturbing.
That's not done in a lot of America anymore, right?
A lot of places, and it's.
I'm shocked at that.
I was shocked. I was. I had some experience. Okay, and I asked. So I have some friends with young kids in school, right? And I've asked. I have one who's got a kid in very nice private school, and one that's in the public school system. But in both scenarios, classroom, no Pledge of Allegiance, and at one of the schools, a kid was asked to take off a Trump shirt because it was making others uncomfortable.
Why don't they just go get a Biden shirt?
Isn't that interesting? I've never once said to somebody wearing an Obama or a Biden shirt, "You're making me uncomfortable," even though you should question anyone's judgment who's wearing a Biden shirt these days.
Well, I think that I would have 3 things in class if I were fighting on a school board: the American flag in the class, Pledge of Allegiance, Almighty, in a non-denominational way, a recognition that there's a power bigger than you, because these children are growing up as narcissists who think they're God. That's communism too. Marx thought he was God. And that's why he wanted to replace God. It was communism.
Narcissist. That's a great way of putting it.
Well, tomorrow night, if you tune in, I'll tell you the myth of Narcissus. Narcissism derives from Greek god Narcissus, excuse me. And I'll tell you the story of Narcissus. And it might remind you the fact that Narcissus did not have dementia of the guy in the White House, or very, very much like the guy in California, Newsom, who wants to run. So there are two things I want to tell you about. First of all, the DA in Alameda County, California, who is a set them free, let criminals go free, beat the hell out of the citizens DA, had her car, had her purse stolen out of her car, her $90,000 SUV. And she's now got to file a report. 53% of the vote. And she's been getting a tremendous amount of criticism, including losing great numbers of her staff for letting criminals go free and beating the living daylights out of the people of Alameda County, which is Oakland. She's destroying that city. This is veteran DAs wrote a letter saying, under your leadership, the focus of the district attorney's office has been taken away from advocating for victims who've been devastated by violent crime. Victims deserve better. I must say, well, we'll see what happens if it turns her around. And tomorrow night, we have a couple more mansions to show you to compare Mar-a-Lago. We've got a fraud disclosure that will, I think, knock your socks off, involving, what's going on with the Making America Fascist by the Biden people. And we'll tell you a little about the opening of Police State, which is taking place right behind my back at the $18 million Mar-a-Lago, only decided by a completely for Democrat hack judge.
So tune in.
Today we showed you a $50,000 house, needs to 1/20th the size. Well, we got plenty more of those. Well, let's say a prayer. Let's say a prayer for the Israeli victims, including this beautiful young lady, who say a prayer for her family, say a prayer to save the Israeli people, save the cradle of Western civilization, say a prayer for America, and let's say a prayer to God of thanksgiving. This young lady, a private megadish in the Israeli armed forces, who was saved by brave Israelis. And let's thank God that we're Americans. God bless America. And we'll see you after Weeknight from Mar-a-Lago. We've got plenty of stories and plenty of politics. And also, let's see what happens with these terrorist animals.